enlightened us. So we are very fortunate. Maharaj is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and also Maharaj is ISKCON initiating Guru. So can we chant a full mantra for Maharaj? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giripardhari Gopi Jana
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we're reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, the conclusion, perfection of renunciation, text number 59. Yad ahankaram ashritya, Yad ahankaram ashritya, na yochya iti manyase, na yochye iti manyase, Mityaisa vyaivasayaste, Mityaisa vyavasayaste, Prakritistvam niyokshyati, Prakritistvam niyokshyati, Yat ahankaram ashritya, na yochya iti manyase, Mityaisa vyavasayaste, Prakritistvam niyokshyati, Yadahankaram ashritya, na yochya iti manyase, Mityaisa vyavasayaste, Prakritistvam niyokshyati,
Yat ahankaram asritya, Yosya iti manyase, Yaisa vyavasayaste, Prakritistam niyoksyate,
Vaishnavis, Yet,
Yat
if
if
ahankaram
ahankaram
of false ego,
of false ego,
ashritya,
asritya,
taking shelter,
taking shelter,
nayokshay,
nayokshay,
I shall not fight,
I shall not fight.
iti,
Iti,
thus,
thus,
manyase,
manyase,
you think,
you think,
mitya asha,
vidyasha,
this is all false,
this is all false.
vaya vasaya,
Vyavasaya,
determination,
determination,
te,
te,
your, prakriti,
prakriti,
material nature,
material nature,
tvam,
tvam,
you, niyokshati,
yokshati,
will engage.
will engage.
Translation: if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna was a military man and born of the nature of the Kshatriya. Therefore, his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher, grandfather, and friends, he would incur sinful reactions. Actually, he was considering himself master of his actions, as if he were directing the good and bad results of such work. He forgot that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present there, instructing him to fight. That is the forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives directions as to what is good and what is bad, and one simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain the perfection of life. No one can ascertain his destiny as the Supreme Lord can. Therefore, the best course is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and act. No one should neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the order of the Spiritual Master, who is the representative of God. One should act unhesitatingly to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will keep one safe under all circumstances. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tathamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sakratatam Sahagana Radhanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Bharijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschachati Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Krishna is giving the conclusion of his teachings to Arjuna by telling Arjuna that he should act according to his directions. Arjuna was so fortunate that Lord Krishna was personally there to instruct him. And Lord Krishna was telling Arjuna that he should fight, he should take part in this battle. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, he said, the Supreme Personality gives directions as to what is good and what is bad. One simply has to act. So Arjuna was thinking, oh, it's wrong to fight and for me to kill people like my teacher Drona and my grandfather Bhishma, my relatives. This is not good, this is sinful. But Lord Krishna earlier in Bhagavad Gita had defeated these arguments. And he had explained, of course he had explained the eternal nature of the soul, that actually the soul never dies, it's only the body which is dying, and this body is simply the dress. So, the souls will never die. And he explained also that if you fight in karma yoga, if you perform your duty as a Kshatriya in karma yoga, then there's no sinful reaction. Arjuna had been concerned about sinful reactions, fighting people, killing people, he would get sinful reactions. But Lord Krishna defeated this argument by explaining that if you do the work as karma yoga, then there are no reactions to that work. And of course it's bewildering to think that is it good to kill people? Well, Lord Krishna wants that the Pandavas should be established on the throne. He wants Maharaj Yudhisthira to be there to rule the world. He didn't want Duryodhana. He wanted the devotees to be in power. Lord Krishna wanted it. It was his desire. In the battle of Kurukshetra, it was meant to be Dharma Yudh. It was meant to be fought according to religious principles. And Arjuna was Kshatriya. As Prabhupada begins the purport, Arjuna was a military man and born of the nature of the Kshatriya. So by nature, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He's born in the royal family. He's born actually by the semen of Indra in the womb of Kunti. So by nature, he had that Kshatriya blood, Kshatriya instincts. And the Kshatriya nature is that they're going to fight when there's some need of it. So Arjuna was acting against his nature. Prabhupada points out, and Lord Krishna also points out that you cannot suppress your nature. He said, by your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. So the battle was going to take place, and Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, he could not just simply stand by idle and say, oh, it's wrong, no, I'm not going to fight. Just like during the war, when there was world wars, then they had some people who would abstain. They refused to go to war. And they were put in prison. They were in prison for that because they didn't fight. Which is, of course, it's not really right because it's against the nature. And Srila Prabhupada also pointed it out in the 1960s when the US was at war with Vietnam. They were trying to stop Vietnam from pursuing the communist line. And there was the split between the North and South Vietnam, and the US was supporting the South. So many young men were drafted to go to war, but they didn't want to go. And Prabhupada points out, he said, it's not that they were brahmanas. He said they were all Sudras, but Sudra's nature is also not to fight. It's the Kshatriyas who are the Kshatriyas. They're warlike people. So people are often forced to do things which are not according to their nature. And of course, when you do something which is not your nature, you will not be satisfied. It will not give any real pleasure to that work. And we'll think how to give it up, how to change that occupation. So Arjuna, his nature is a Kshatriya, and he's meant to fight. He'd come to the battlefield, he'd come up with his dressed in armor, ready to fight with his weapons. But in the middle of the battlefield, he became overwhelmed, seeing his teacher and his grandfather and his relatives. He was thinking, how can I fight all of these people who are worthy of my worship? So this was his sentiment, actually. He was being very sentimental, and he was on the bodily platform. He was thinking of himself in terms of the material body. He was not thinking in terms of the soul. He was not thinking how Lord Krishna is the personality of Godhead, and he's here with me, and he's directing me, and he's encouraging me in this battle. We have to understand our nature is to be servant, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu often told Jivarswar Bahaya Nitya Krishna Das, that the living entity's eternal nature is to be servant, a servant of Krishna. Nitya Krishna Das. Eternally we're servants of Krishna. Of course, in the material world, there are these different occupational divisions of society. Not so much nowadays, of course, because Kali Yuga, the whole influence of the Varnashram system is gone. But still, there are people that will claim, oh, we are Brahmin, our family is Brahmin, we are this caste, and like that. People will think like that. Although it's not so much relevant today, but still it's there, some traces of it. So this system of dividing society was the arrangement of Lord Krishna, and it's described in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnam Maya Shristam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Lord Krishna said, I am the creator of these divisions in society, and I have created them according to guna and karma, according to one's quality and work. According to the qualities which people have and the way in which they work, there are 4 divisions of society. There is the Brahminical class, first of all, who are meant to be the intellectual type of people. And they're considered like the head of the society. They're meant to guide people and to give proper instructions for them. And then we have the Kshatriyas, like Arjuna, and their nature is more to manage and to direct people. Just like the Pandavas, they were Maharathis. They were very powerful people. On one occasion it happened that Lord Krishna went with Bhima and Arjuna to see Jarasandha. Jarasandha was the emperor. He was a very powerful person. And Maharaj Yudhisthira wanted to perform the Rajasuya Yajna. But in order to perform the Rajasuya Yajna, there had to be submission by all of the other kings of the world. And they knew that Jarasandha would never submit himself to Maharaj Yudhisthira. So, before Maharaj Yudhisthira could perform the Rajasuya Yajna, Lord Krishna, along with Bhima and Arjuna, went to see Jarasandha. And their purpose in going to see him was to beg charity. What charity they wanted? Jarasandha was actually, he was a demon, of course. He was Kamsa was a very intimate friend of Jarasandha. Jarasandha's daughters had all married Kamsa. So Kamsa was quite close to Jarasandha. And Jarasandha was the demon, but at the same time he followed the Vedic culture because he knew it's good to give charity to the Brahmanas. And he had that custom that Brahmanas could come to him and ask charity and he would give them what they wanted. So this was known by everyone. So Lord Krishna came there along with Arjuna and Bhima, and they came in disguise as Brahmanas. They came to beg charity. But, you know, they came in front of Jarasandha dressed in simple cloth, you know, just had some cloth wrapped around them. And Jarasandha was looking at them and is thinking, these are funny Brahmanas. Because they were so powerful. Bhima and Arjuna, you know, they were great Maharathis. And he could see even that there were marks on their bodies. These marks were from carrying their weapons. But anyway, they'd come to see Jarasandha to beg charity. And Jarasandha could understand, you know, what kind of Brahmanas are this? Because another nature which revealed they were not Brahmanas was when they spoke, that their voices were like thunder. You know, they were very authoritative. Just like what, you know, you have somebody who's an administrator, you know. We had one devotee come to the temple in Hong Kong. He was a teacher, you know, a teacher in a school. And my goodness, when he spoke to, you know, he's so powerful, you know, so heavy, you know, dictating, controlling. And so Bhima and Arjuna, like their voices were like thunder to Jarasandha. Although Jarasandha is the emperor, he could understand these people, they're funny brahmanas, but they want charity. So he said, all right, you want charity, what do you want? And then they said, we want a fight. We want to fight you, right? Because so long as Jarasandha was there, Maharaj Yudhisthira could not perform Rajasuya Yagna. So the fight was arranged, yet Jarasandha refused to fight Krishna. He said, no, you're a coward, you went away from the battle. When I was fighting you before, you'd gone away. Krishna had fought Jarasandha 17 times and defeated him. But still Jarasandha came again, and at that time Kalayavana was also coming. So Lord Krishna at that time, he left the battlefield, and Kalayavana was chasing him. At that time he took him up the mountains, and Kalayavana got burned by Muchikunda. Muchikunda was sleeping in the cave, and Kalayavana thought it was Krishna. He kicked him. Muchikunda opened his eyes, and fire came out and burned Kalayavana to ashes. Anyway, that was the time Krishna moved everyone from Mathura to Dwarka. And Lord Krishna avoided that. And Jarasandha thought, I've defeated Krishna. Krishna, of course, is known as Ranchor. There's a famous deity of Ranchor in Gujarat. And Krishna is worshipped as Ranchor. Ranchor means one who leaves the battlefield. So usually someone leaves the battlefield, it's cowardly. But Lord Krishna had a reason behind it. And Lord Krishna is worshipped as Ranchor. So Jarasandha told Krishna, I'm not going to fight you. You ran away from the battle before. So you're not going to fight me. And then he told Arjuna, he said, you don't look strong enough to fight me. You won't give me a good battle. So Jarasandha was a real Kshatriya. He wanted to fight someone who was equal to him. He didn't want to fight somebody who was weaker than him, who would be too easy for him. He wanted to fight someone who was at least equal, who could give him a good battle. So he said to Bhima, you will do. You look like you could give me a nice fight. Let's fight. You want to fight? I'll fight with you. So then Bhima and Jarasandha fought together, of course. And they fought for many days, and neither could come out on top. They were both very powerful, very strong. But then Lord Krishna gave the clue to Bhima. He picked up a twig and he split it down the middle. And he said, Jarasandha, the history behind Jarasandha was that as a baby, he was born in two halves. He had come out from the womb of the mother in two halves. And the mother who had delivered the child had just left him in the forest, thinking that, I don't want two halves. Can't bring up two halves as children. And left the two halves in the forest. But then a witch named Jara came there. And the witch Jara joined the two halves together and made Jarasandha. So joined by Jara. And this way he got the name Jarasandha. He went on to become very, very powerful. He became the emperor. And so Jarasandha was the obstruction to Maharaj Yudhisthira doing the Rajasuya Yagna. So they had to fight. They had to kill him in order to do that yagya. And Lord Krishna, he gave the direction to Bhima. And Bhima understood. So he went out and he put his foot on one leg of Jarasandha and grabbed his other leg and ripped him right down the middle. And he ripped his body right down the middle into two halves. So he threw the two halves in opposite directions, so they couldn't join again. And in this way, Bhima defeated Jarasandha. Anyway, the Kshatriya nature like that, they're the administrators, they manage things. And Kshatriyas are meant to do that. They're meant to deal with the dacoits and criminals and so on. I don't know about policemen here, but I know in the UK, when the policemen in the UK come, they're very powerful, they speak very heavy. Anyway, they've been trained like that. Kshatriya kind of mode, administrators. So, and then the Vaishya, their nature is to do business. They're always thinking how to make money. They go to the forest and they see all the trees, they think, oh, so much wood here. Oh, I could sell the wood, cut the trees, sell the wood, or just collect all the leaves and put the leaves together and make a business with leaves from the forest. And they go to the beach and they see all the sand, and oh, so much sand, I can do business, may sell the sand. Wherever they go, they're just thinking business, making money, sell things, like that. They have that nature. It's difficult to overcome that kind of nature. And the Sudra nature, Sudras are more prominent in the Kali Yuga. The Sudra nature, they have to be told to do everything. The nature is just to do nothing, be kind of lazy. So everyone has a nature, and we have to be engaged according to our nature. So it says, of course, that anyone can become a Brahmana if they're properly initiated and trained by a bona fide spiritual master. And the example is given, just like bell metal can be made into gold by the alchemical process. So in the same way, anyone can become a Brahmana. So we may worry and think, oh, everybody will want to become a Brahmana. Well, not everyone has a Brahminical nature, because the Brahminical nature is to study, to read scriptures, learn philosophy, to worship the deities. Sometimes we ask people to do puja, to offer the arti, and they don't have the nature of the Brahman, but somehow they're on the altar and they're offering arti. So I saw one time, we had a devotee, he was doing arti. He was supposed to offer the full arti, but he did the arti in 2 minutes. I heard him blow the conch shell, and then 2 minutes later he's blowing the conch shell again. What happened? His nature was just not Brahminical, and to offer the arti, he just couldn't imagine to stand there and offer the different articles. So here, Lord Krishna is describing to Arjuna that you also have your nature, that by nature you will be engaged in warfare. Arjuna had that the mentality, the mood of the Kshatriya, and he had so much anger towards the sons of Duryodhana, the sons of Dhritarashtra rather, headed by Duryodhana, that certainly he wanted to fight. There was going to be war. He'd take part in the war. So Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you don't act according to my direction, then you're just not doing what you're supposed to do. And ultimately, in the end, you will do it. You will fight, because you cannot go against your nature. So sometimes people they think, well, it's my nature to steal, or it's my nature to lie, and so on. Brahmana, of course, a Brahmana is meant to be, he will be truthful. Prabhupada gave the example about the Brahmana, the young boy who wants to enter into the school for education. It's like a Gurukula. So the teacher asks the young boy, what's your father's name? And because by knowing the name of the father, then he will know, is the boy from a Brahmana family or what? And so the boy said, I don't know my father's name. He said, I'll go and ask my mother. So the boy went home and asked his mother, what's my father's name? And the mother said to the boy, I don't know. I don't know the name of your father. So the young boy came back and said to the head teacher, my mother didn't know the name of my father. So the teacher said, oh, okay, that's all right. You can become a student in our school. We accept you as a student. The teacher could understand that this boy is very truthful. Someone else may feel uncomfortable that my mother didn't know the name of my father. Oh, it's so disgraceful, so embarrassing. But the boy didn't hide anything. He spoke the truth. He kept it open. So the teacher thought this boy is very truthful. That's a Brahminical quality. So it indicates that this boy is actually having a Brahminical nature. So I'm just saying, and everyone can be trained as a Brahmana, but not everyone wants to be trained as a Brahmana. And we see today, not everyone wants to come and worship the deity. People think, oh no, I want to get a job in the corporate world, I want to sit in the office, I want to go in the bank or whatever, sit there in the banks. People don't want to be Brahminical. And that's a big problem, that many temples closed and the deity worship stopped because there were no people to do the worship. Even today, devotees are building temples in India. I know one couple, they built a very nice temple and they have but they don't have enough pujaris to do all the worship. They have several deities, and the deity ministry, they have a very high standard now. Because in the past we've had experience that devotees sometimes would be very enthusiastic to bring many deities. But then after some time, they have trouble to maintain the worship. Nobody wants to do the worship. In Srila Prabhupada's time, we had many young devotees. But nowadays, there's not so many people living in the ashram. So it's difficult for people to do the deity worship. If they're living outside, then they have to come from their home, and they have to come to the temple and do the puja. And then they have to go to their work afterwards. So it's not so easy for them. So several temples, they had this problem, and they wanted to reduce the standard of the worship. Prabhupada wanted every day 7 offerings in the day. It's a lot of work to prepare the offerings and to make the offerings, and then dressing the deities and changing the dresses. So we have difficulties sometimes to maintain because people don't want to be brahmanas. They want to work. They'd rather go off, work somewhere in the shops, work in the shops, work in the factories, whatever. And in this way they're happy, they're satisfied. They go against their nature. So what happened was Srila Prabhupada went to Geneva in 1975. Prabhupada went to Geneva, and he was there for 9 days. It's only a small city, Geneva, not a very big city. Somehow Prabhupada, they arranged programs for Prabhupada for 9 days there. So Prabhupada met the mayor of Geneva in Switzerland, and the mayor had seen the devotees. He'd seen the devotees regularly there in the city square, and they were doing kirtan and distributing books. And the mayor had asked Srila Prabhupada, said, what will happen if all the young people all become Hare Krishnas? The mayor was actually thinking, there's so many young people becoming Hare Krishna. Then what's going to happen to the world if everyone joins Hare Krishna movement? They'll all be in the squares chanting Hare Krishna and distributing books. So Prabhupada laughed, and then Prabhupada explained to the mayor how there is varnashram, there is division of society. Everyone is engaged according to their nature. Not everyone is expected to do things like, distributing books. Although we do say this is our family business, book distribution. Just like if your father has a business, then we like to work in the family business. So Prabhupada said, our family business is book distribution. And he said, everybody should learn how to distribute books. It's important for us as devotees. At the same time, not everybody distributes books as a full-time commitment. Although yesterday I did see that one devotee, this is a Russian devotee, he's a dedicated book distributor. He doesn't do anything else. Every day he distributes Prabhupada's books. So it's very rare. But we do like to distribute books. It's important. It's our family business. But at the same time, we can't do it all the time. We do other things also. So we have like weekend warriors. We call them weekend warriors, right? You go out on the weekend and distribute books. Because you're working Monday to Friday, and then weekends you're free. You can go out and distribute books. Or sometimes may go in the evenings even sometimes. But find some time, spare time, when we can distribute some books, because that's our spiritual duty, to distribute Krishna conscious literature. And by distributing Prabhupada's books, we are forced to talk about Krishna and to introduce Krishna to people. And that's very good for us. Often people don't tell people, sometimes devotees even want to hide that they're devotees. But we want to tell people about Krishna. We want to go out into the public and explain to people what is Krishna consciousness. And we like to wear tilak wherever we go. It's nice. You can put tilak on and let people, what are you and what is this, And then you can tell them about Krishna consciousness. You can introduce it to them. It's an opportunity to tell people about Krishna. And telling people about Krishna is pleasing to Krishna also. It's our duty as devotees that we should be generous and we should share what we have. So of course they may not be interested and may not accept, that's all right. But it's our duty to at least explain to them and tell them about Krishna consciousness. That this is a spiritual program by which we can all become self-realized. We can understand our spiritual nature. We have a material nature. By nature, somebody is a manager or somebody is a worker. Ladies, they have a Sri Dharma, housewives, right? Their Dharma is to be at home. And they do the cooking and the cleaning, take care of the family. So that is Sri Dharma. And the men, they have their Varna. They have their either Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. These kind of engagements are meant to be there. But that is material, external. But on the spiritual platform, we're all servants. Everyone is a servant. The nature of our soul is to be engaged in service. And that service is perfected when it's directed towards Lord Krishna. We have to understand how we can serve Krishna, and that we learn from the association of devotees, and by reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then we get a lot of information about how we can serve Krishna, how we can be engaged in Krishna conscious spiritual activities. Lord Krishna, for example, said, engage your mind in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisance to me and worship me, and in this way surely you will come to me. So in this way Lord Krishna is describing different activities which we can do for him. And everyone can do these activities, because everyone's nature is to be the servant. On the spiritual platform, there's no difference. Lord Krishna is the master and we are all the servants. You may be a Kshatriya, you may be a manager, but you are also a servant of Krishna. You may be the Brahmana, you may be the head of the social body, but your position is also to be servant. We're all servants. But that position of serving, that gives us the greatest pleasure. It is so pleasing that even Lord Krishna himself, he wants to come as a servant and to experience that pleasure of service. Lord Krishna likes to enjoy. He is the supreme enjoyer. But when he appeared 5,000 years ago, he saw how the gopis and the people of Vrindavan, they were enjoying more than him. He was enjoying being in Vrindavan and being with the cows and the gopis and everyone, but they were enjoying more than him. So Lord Krishna thought, I have to come as a devotee in order to get more pleasure, to enjoy fully. And in this way, in this Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna came as a devotee. And just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as a devotee to teach everyone how to serve Krishna by chanting the holy name and by talking about Krishna, by Krishna Varna, right? You have Brahman Varna, Kshatriya Varna, but Krishna Varna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes the Lord's incarnation in the Kali Yuga. Krishna Varnam Tavish Akrishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagnaye Sankirtan Praye Yajanti He Sumedasaha. This verse is spoken by Karabhajana Muni. He's one of the 9 Yogendras who were all sons of Rishabdev. Now Rishabdev, he is one of the saints in the people who are Jains. They will worship the Tirthakars, and the number 1 Tirthakar is Rishabdev. So Rishabdev is described in Srimad Bhagavatam to be an incarnation of Vishnu. He's an avatar of Lord Vishnu. And he had 100 sons, and 9 of them were called the 9 Yogendras. And they were all preaching the message of the Bhagavatam. And they went to Maharaj Nimi. And Maharaj Nimi is a great king, very saintly king. And he put many questions to the 9 Yogendras. You can read in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So one of the questions was, he wanted to know about the Lord's incarnations in each age. And it was described how in the Kali Yuga, in this age of Kali, the Lord comes. Krishna Varna, Tavish Akrishna. That he is Krishna, but he is coming in a color which is not black. Although Krishna means blackish, in the Kali Yuga he is Akrishna, not blackish. And it's pointed out that in other yugas he comes, like in Satya Yuga there's the white incarnation, and then Treta Yuga there's the red incarnation, in Dwapara Yuga the black. So in the Kali Yuga it will be the gold-colored complexion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is that golden-colored complexion. And his business is Krishna Varna. He's always talking about Krishna. His business is simply talking and telling people about Krishna and chanting the names of Krishna and worshipping Krishna. This is Krishna Varna. So we can also do these things, all of us, regardless of our position in the material world, regardless of our nature. I said, by nature, we are all servants. Ekala Ishwara Krishna, or Sabhritya. There is only one master, the supreme controller. There's one person, that controller, and all others are servants. So all of us, we're all servants, and even the Devas are also servants. They're also servants of Lord Krishna. He is the one supreme and we are his servants. So we want to learn how we can serve, and that service is done particularly in this age by using the tongue. We use the tongue to chant and to speak. We're using the tongue, and we use the tongue also to taste. Just like in a short time, you will also have prasadam, will be distributed for everyone. So we use the tongue particularly for these two activities, for chanting and for tasting. So using our senses in the service of Krishna, that is sense control. In the Kali Yuga, particularly the chanting is very important. Calling the holy name and joining in the Sankirtan. Yajnae Sankirtan Praye Yajantihi Sumedhi. In the Kali Yuga, there's only one yajna, and the real yajna is Sankirtan. The other yajnas, they don't really have any meaning. They just satisfy people's minds. We think, oh, well, it looks good, we did a yajna, we lit a fire. But the real yajna in the Kali Yuga is the Sankirtan yajna, with the mridanga and the kartals and the chanting of the holy name. Even if you don't have mridanga and kartal, just chanting the holy name, that is the real yajna by which we can get the perfection. In every age there's a different process. So in this Kali Yuga, the process is the chanting of the holy names. And we want to take up that activity. And that is real service to the Supreme Lord. We are servants. How to serve? We can chant His name. It is very pleasing, very important. And what is the effect of the chanting of the holy name? Well, it destroys sins. That in the past we have committed many activities which are against the scriptures. You know, we all have our faults. We all have our past. We've done things, bad things. And that's why we're here in the material world. If we were pure, we would not have taken birth in this world. But because we have taken a birth here, it means we have some problems, we have some faults. And we can remove all of these things. We can remove all of these tendencies and faults just by chanting of the holy name, by chanting the Maha Mantra. The Maha Mantra has that power. We were reciting Shikshastika this morning, right? So in the very first verse, Lord Chaitanya has told us the effects of the chanting of the holy name, how it cleanses the mirror of the mind and it extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. These kind of things. It gives us the real pleasure for which we are always anxious. This is all the power of the holy name. If we learn to chant the holy name, we can go on to experience more and more pleasure. But it takes some practice. We have to develop the habit of chanting and calling the name. Just like people have their habits. Some people smoke and drink, they have habits, they gamble, these things. We have to develop the habit to chant, chanting of the holy name. Keep the holy name on our tongue. And in this way we can experience spiritual pleasure. And because the effect of the holy name is you are associating directly with Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna comes in the form of his holy name. Prabhupada he had one devotee give a lecture at the initiation one time, and this was in Calcutta, in the temple there in Calcutta. So one Swamiji was giving the lecture, and he said, Krishna is in his name, but Prabhupada stopped him and said, that's not quite correct. He said, Krishna is his name. Right? If we're chanting the pure name, then Krishna and his name are non-different. Nam Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Binat Nam Nama Nama. No. So Binat Nam Nama Nama. No, that Krishna and his name are non-different. Kali Kali Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna comes in the Kali Yuga in the form of his holy name. So if we associate with Krishna by chanting his holy name, we can also purify ourselves. We can destroy unlimited amounts of sins, and we can become situated in transcendence. We can become free of the material energy. Very powerful. And this opportunity is there for everyone. We have to take advantage. We've been given the most precious, the most valuable thing. We have to take advantage and take shelter of that holy name by joining in the kirtan and by also chanting, by doing our own japa, our own meditation. Okay, so we will stop here. Are there any questions? Anyone? Anyone has any question? Yes, Marichi.
Krishna, thank you, Maharaj. And Maharaj, you mentioned how fortunate was Arjuna to have the direction directly from Krishna. We also have our spiritual master, but sometimes devotees don't get the chance to associate much with the spiritual master and get the direct orders and directions, or the spiritual master leave the body also. So how the disciples, if you can give some advice to all of us, how we can actually follow the orders and the directions of the spiritual master when we don't get it directly, because it looks very personal when we hear like this from the Bhagavad Gita, but if this personal connection is not there, how can we follow the orders and directions?
Okay, thank you, Marichi Prabhu. Yes, we're often in that situation, many of us. We have to learn to associate with the spiritual master. First of all, we have his books, we have his writings, we have his recordings, his lectures, so you can hear the recorded lectures of the teachers, the spiritual masters. In the case of Srila Prabhupada, we have books, and we have also letters which he wrote. So all of these things are available. We have to understand also that spiritual master is not only the one who gives Diksha, but there are several spiritual masters. The Chaitanya Charitamrita begins, the very first sloka, Bande Gurun Isha Bhaktam. Gurun means plural. I offer obeisances to all the spiritual masters, not just only to the Diksha. That's wrong. If we think only the Diksha Guru is important, that's not correct. We have to see also the Shiksha Gurus are also they're equal to the Diksha Guru. The qualification as a Shiksha Guru is the same as the Diksha Guru. So somebody's giving you Diksha, you can give them the same respect as the Diksha Guru. Shiksha and Diksha. Actually, Shiksha is more important than Diksha. So we have to associate not just simply with one person. Don't just think my Guru, but which Guru? We have many Gurus, right? Bande Gurun. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj is saying, I offer obeisances to all the Gurus. Didn't just say my Guru. Because we should have Shiksha Gurus as well as just the Diksha. Diksha you only have one, but you can have many Shiksha Gurus. We're encouraged to have Shiksha Gurus. This is the process. Before you accept Diksha, first you take Shiksha, you take instructions. Just like before they marry, they get engaged first of all, right? Usually, I mean, they get to know each other a little bit and, you know, is this going to work, you know, like that. They want to be sure. So similarly, before you purchase the Guru, there's a testing period. You know, you should be hearing regularly from them. You should be inquiring. You should be associating. And that way, then you can go on. And then you're more convinced. So if we don't tell people just go take initiation from somebody, but you want to test a little bit, you know, you want to hear more and have more association. And you may not, that person who you're connected with, they may not be giving initiation. So they will send you to somebody else. Because they're giving you all their association and training and everything. And then they will go on, they'll say, well, you go to him, he will give you the initiation. Like that. So you have, even you get the Diksha from someone else, you don't forget the people who gave you the training, who gave you that initial training, who brought you to Krishna consciousness. They gave you the Shiksha, the instruction. So we have to have association with like that with Shiksha Gurus. we should have many Shiksha Gurus. And then it's not a problem, you don't worry, you can always get instruction. Right? We say Sadhu, Shastra and Guru. These are our guidance, our authorities. We're guided by the scriptures, the sadhus, and the guru. And guru can be gurun, can be guru, many gurus. The Diksha Guru, the Shiksha Gurus. So hearing from them regularly and associating with them, inquiring from them will be very helpful for us. Right? We all do the ISKCON disciple course, and in the ISKCON disciple course, these points are made very clear. The Guru is not one, that you have many Gurus, and we should give equal respect to each of them. All right. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Lord Chaitanya is the one who propagated the name of Krishna. So, and Nityananda was assisting him. So how they disappeared? Because they never die like normal person. How they disappeared? Can you explain to us how they disappeared? Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda.
How did he disappear? Well, you see, these things are not pleasant to discuss, you see. So usually in the Vaishnava forum, these things are not discussed so openly. But you have to understand the Lord comes, He doesn't have a spirit, He doesn't have a material body. So He doesn't take birth in an ordinary way. When He leaves the world, it's very special. But they entered the deity. Both entered the deity. Lord Chaitanya entered the deity, and Lord Nityananda also entered the deity. Okay.
Good morning, Maharaj. Thank you for your association. This is on gurus. I can just speak for myself. When I see Srila Prabhupada, he is the cream de la cream of gurus. But when I see his disciples, I find it hard to say to myself honestly that this guru is Srila Prabhupada, equal to Srila Prabhupada. So how do we understand gurus, Srila Prabhupada, vis-a-vis the Diksha gurus and Siksha gurus? I find it hard to put them on equal status because they are clumped together as spiritual gurus, but within spiritual gurus, I see a hierarchy, so to speak, and I do not know how to give equal respect. As I give to Srila Prabhupada, I give equal respect to other gurus. So could you elaborate on this knowledge?
You don't know how to give equal respect to them. You can respect Srila Prabhupada. Well, you just have to continue to go on, and you have to understand that you cannot expect people to be equal to Prabhupada, but they're giving you Prabhupada. The person you need is the person who will give you Srila Prabhupada, who can direct you to Prabhupada. So that person is like your guru, if he directs you to Prabhupada. Not that he's equal to Prabhupada, of course. disciple will never claim to be equal to the Guru. They're the devotee, they're the servant of the spiritual master. But they can help you to come to Prabhupada and to know Prabhupada more by their association. They can bring you to Prabhupada. So in that way you should appreciate them and respect them for that. You never met Prabhupada, you don't know what Prabhupada was like. You were only seeing Prabhupada sitting there on the Vyasasana, but you never met Prabhupada. You were never with Prabhupada. If you had been around, maybe it would be different. You'd be thinking, oh, I can only respect Prabhupada's Guru, I can't respect Prabhupada. You know, we have that kind of conditioning, you know. That tendency is there in ourselves that we can't appreciate others until after they've gone. And after they've gone, then you think, oh, you know, yeah, I missed him. They're gone. I could respect Prabhupada, but Prabhupada's not here. So,
Thanks, Maharaj.
of course, Prabhupada is here by his instruction. So Prabhupada is Shiksha Guru, right? But you have to get connected to Prabhupada, and to get connected to Prabhupada, you have to have somebody to help you, who can tell you more, who can guide you more, to come closer to Prabhupada. So that's why that's another Shiksha Guru. You have to have somebody who can do that for you, to help you to get closer to Prabhupada. Of course, one of the purposes of Diksha, taking Diksha, is to get more connected to Prabhupada, to come closer to Prabhupada. So when you have a Diksha Guru, then you may be able to appreciate better that. Okay.
Any last question? Mataji sir. Anyone? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Maharaj. So, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Can we chant one full mantra for Maharaj? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A couple of announcements. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namo. So this month, on the 11th of June, we have Syana Yatra. Jai Janapadesh Putra Mai Ki. So we'll be having in the evening program. We'll let you all know in our WhatsApp groups. So we'll be Abhishek. This is the only time we get to Abhishek the whole congregation. So if take the advantage, please come. We'll let you know more. And today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Siva Kumar Prabhu and family. You are here, Siva Kumar Prabhu? Please come and get your Mahaprasad. Siva Kumar Prabhu, Hare Krishna, please come. Prabhu just gone through an operation, so he wanted to feed all the devotees today, so he has sponsored the prasadam today. So can we chant one full mantra for Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. And also today's feast is cooked by Vasanath Prabhu and team, even though we didn't have many of our devotees all traveling. So he did a nice wonderful feast. So can we chant for the whole team? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have one new guest. Mega Raj Prabhu. Please come. Please come and get your gifts from Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you very much. So and also as you seen last week, Mohana Murli Prabhu hanged the prasadam weight. Normally it was from 7 kilos.